What is up, my friends and fellow BusyBees? Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome. I'm Mel. I'm a social service worker turned DIYer and furniture refinisher who now runs a full-time furniture painting and refinishing business, and I show up here every week teaching you how to do your own furniture makeovers, as well as sharing the behind the scenes of what goes into running a business doing this. And now, if you're here and listening to this podcast, I'm going to go ahead and venture a guess that you're interested in upcycled furniture in some capacity. And the chances are highly probable that one of your reasonings for that is the fact that it keeps furniture from ending up in the landfill. I've referenced it before, but the only stat really that I can find on this, I guess because people aren't super keen to be picking through trash, on how much furniture ends up in the landfill each year is 10 million tons in Canada and the US alone every single year, which is a lot. And one of the ways that we can avoid this, of course, is by bringing new life to these old and unloved pieces. But at the end of the day, there's only so much furniture that you need in your singular house, or your apartment or condo or whatever you live in. But another way that we can start to think outside of the box and really get creative with these pieces, whether we are a consumer and we're purchasing the pieces, or we're doing our own makeovers for ourselves and our home, or if you are somebody doing this as a side hustle or as a full-time job even, you need to think creatively about the pieces that you're working on and marketing them appropriately as well. And that might mean that the piece that you are refinishing isn't going to end up for the stereotypical or presumed use of it. For example, a dresser. I wanted to take the time today to go through the different ways that you can market and also use a dresser, just a plain dresser, whether it's a tall boy, a low boy. Some may be better for certain uses. We'll go through those later, but ways that you can reimagine and rethink these pieces of furniture that you probably see so commonly, whether it's in your own workshop or online, see people refinishing, but you only have so many clothes to hold. Or if you're like me, you have a full walk-in closet of things from literally since grade 7, anything that you've ever purchased or owned, sitting there because you think that one day it's going to come back in style and you'll want to wear it again. But still, there's only so much, so we can only fill a dresser with clothing or even other things for storage for so long before we run out of stuff. So let's talk about some other ways that dressers can be used to help keep them out of the landfills as much as we can. And before we jump into the different uses for a dresser, I want to talk about why this is important or how you can be utilizing this and thinking about this. So if you are somebody who sells your pieces, I want you to be thinking about this stuff, whether it's a dresser or some other piece of furniture that you're selling, because when you're putting your listings together, this is something that you can highlight. You can suggest it in the description, and you can add the words to the tags in the back end of these listings so that they show up for people who are looking for other similar items that aren't necessarily a dresser per se. And so it'll show up in their feeds, and once they see it, if they love the design, if they think that it would really match their decor or the style or the shape or the size works great, but it just wasn't necessarily what they had in mind, you might get a sale from that you wouldn't have otherwise if you hadn't thought through this process. And other people may not be thinking about it. A lot of my day-to-day life is filled with refinished furniture and interiors and home decor and those kinds of spaces, because that's what I seek out on social media, on YouTube, on Pinterest. That's the stuff that I've curated my feed to show me because it interests me. But that's not the same for everybody. And a lot of people, I've come to realize in this work, don't really know what they want until they see it a lot of the time, because they don't necessarily have a vision for their space. They might be feeling a little bit shy about stepping outside of their comfort zone, or, they want to make a bit of a jump and do something fun or eye-catching, but they don't really know what, or what is eye-catching, or what's trendy, or what looks good. So we have to be there to put the things in front of their faces, basically, so that they can be like, oh, this would be perfect. I never would have thought of this. And so you can be the one to show them options of what they can do while they're redesigning their spaces and give them the confidence that, yes, this would work perfect as X, Y, or Z in your space. And in fact, I already thought that through and I put it in the description and I'm painting a picture for you to do that to the piece. let's jump into it because it'll all make more sense once I go through some of these options. Okay, so number one, nothing too crazy, but a bedroom dresser, right? This isn't a redesign, but this is one use for it. So in doing that, you might be staging it as though it's in a bedroom. You might have some of those textiles, maybe a comfy, cozy throw blanket in a basket sitting beside it. You might have a couple trinkets or a little jewelry box sitting on it just to show that it's in that space, in a bedroom, for storage for clothing probably. And that's what it's used for, and that's what most people are going to be searching for when they're looking for a dresser for their space. They're going to look for a dresser. The dresser's a dresser's a dresser, you know? Anyways, number two, a buffet or a sideboard in a dining room. Especially with those lowboy dressers, they're often pretty much at the same height, especially if they're on legs, as a sideboard or as a buffet would be. They may not have as long of legs, it might be a different shape than maybe somebody was looking for, but a dresser has a ton of storage, and ultimately that's what a buffet's purpose is and its use is. And if you can design a dresser that looks like it would look great in a dining room of whatever style or whatever era, that might be perfect for what somebody's looking for. So anytime I'm listing a dresser, typically not a tall boy, but sometimes if it kind of like leans in that direction, I'll put in the tags sideboard, I'll put buffet, I'll put storage, because those very often will work in those spaces. I'm like running out of breath. I'm really sick right now. If you could hear it in my voice, I'm very stuffed up. My apologies. Okay, next up. A dresser can also be used as an entertainment unit or a TV stand. And I feel like these are like kind of slowly leaving the zeitgeist as we try and like hide our TVs more. I feel like having a TV in a living room or something isn't even always happening anymore. I know for me, honestly, unless I'm sitting with my husband who enjoys watching TV, I'll watch TV, but otherwise I'm not watching a TV. Like if I'm just here on my own, I'll go on my phone, I'll go on TikTok as a form of entertainment. If I really want to watch something on Netflix, I'll put it on my phone and just hold it up. It's so sad. I'm like, I don't have a use for a TV anymore. So I feel like entertainment units and TV stands might one day be something of the past, but currently they're still going strong, and a dresser, again, probably a lowboy dresser, would work great for that because, again, with an entertainment unit, you're looking for storage. You're looking for closed-in storage typically, because if you have maybe a satellite receiver, you have your internet Wi-Fi box, you might have video game consoles and video games, and I don't know, maybe you have some old school DVDs and things like that sitting around, and you want to have it all accessible and organized but tucked away. And I know for us in our main living room, we have a little, I don't know, I guess you would call it a TV stand. It's like a low, long unit. And I also store things like all my candles in there, some extra stuff for the dining table, like tablecloths and runners and charging plates and stuff like that. So having storage in these spaces is super useful for any family, for any setup, any household. So advertising your dressers as such will open up the realm of possibilities of who might be interested in it. And if you're someone who is looking at making over your own space and you've been looking for a certain entertainment unit or a TV stand in the big box stores or something and you haven't been able to find something, start looking at dressers because there are so many different shapes and sizes and styles and colors and finishes to choose from. I feel like for every person on earth, there's probably like 5 dressers based on the amount that I see on Marketplace every day because I'm on there every day, but that's a separate issue. So yeah, entertainment unit, TV stand. Have you thought about it before? Next option, a nursery changing table. I have done 2 of these as one was a custom and one was one that I had refinished hoping somebody would use it for their nursery and kind of make it a duo changing table dresser situation, and they did. So technically I've done 2 of these, but again, the low, long dressers have ample storage for diapers and wipes and clothes and onesies and all the things that you need when you have a new baby, but you want things tucked away, but maybe don't want to have to like organize it super well because you don't have any time or brain power when you just had a human that you created. So you can use a dresser for that, and you can buy a separate changing table or put something on top that's like a whatever. I don't know the words because I haven't yet started that chapter of my life, but utilizing it as a changing table would be great. And I find like there's typically different vibes that people are looking for, like the nursery dresser changing table situations I've done. One was pink, one was blue, it's a certain vibe, but more and more I'm seeing these really neutral nurseries going up with lots of whites or like pale sages and yellows and more neutral colors. So whether you already have a dresser that you think would be useful to advertise as such, again, I would recommend staging if you want to take it in that direction, especially if it's one that's like pink or something like that that leans more towards a nursery vibe. I always recommend staging with items that like make somebody visualize it in that space. So maybe you have like a couple children's books or toys or a stuffy or something like that. Even again, a basket with a little blankie, something like that that's just going to soften it and make you think of a children's room. This is getting into the weeds a bit, but with nursery dressers and stuff like that, I always like to put like little cute knobs and stuff on it too, to just like really cutesy it up, because you can't do that all the time on like pieces that people are going to put into like their dining room. So all that to say, that is another use for a dresser that you may have. Maybe you are expecting soon and you're going to be putting together a nursery and you're trying to keep things cheap, or you're trying to keep things sustainable. Look around if you have a dresser that's been sitting around in the basement, in storage, in the garage, something sitting around that you're like, oh, maybe one day I'll make that over. What a great time to start. Give it a flip. Make sure that you put the right products on it that have no VOCs, that you put a good top coat on it so that it is nicely cured if you're going to be having, your baby on it and changing whatever might come from it. But it's a great use for a dresser that you may not have thought about. Next up is to use a dresser as an entryway unit. And I would typically, I guess it depends on the space really, but my mind immediately goes to tall boys for this purpose because they are taking up less space lengthwise and they, take up less space horizontally and then use more vertical space up. So entryways are typically a little bit smaller and snugger. So that's what comes to mind, but not to say that a low boy wouldn't fit into some beautiful big spaces. But this is great because again, especially if you're a family or you have a lot of animals or something like that, you're going to want a lot of storage near the front door for things like hats and mitts or other seasonal wares, maybe like your gardening supplies. You could use it for shoe storage. And then, it's nice to have a good drop spot to put your keys and the mail and whatever else when you are coming and going from the house. So using a dresser as an entryway unit is perfect. Again, you can stage it with things like I just mentioned, having a little key plate, maybe a couple envelopes. Don't show your personal mailing address on it, but having some props that would make it staged like it's in your entryway. Maybe you have a little bin with a bunch of shoes. I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't look very aesthetic, but again, you could stage it to make it look like an entryway or just add it into your description, Newly refinished 6-drawer tall boy dresser would make a great addition to your bedroom, entryway space, or dining room. Ample storage and deep drawers can house all your odds and bobs. I don't know. Something cutesy. And then include all the options for them in that. Another use for a dresser would make for such a cute bar cart or a coffee station in a kitchen or in a living room, depending on your setup. And you could get kind of crazy with this one too and make some alterations to it to really match the vibe. Have it be a bit of an unexpected pop. I'm actually working on a custom right now. It was more of a secretary desk, but like with a dresser in the bottom, that kind of thing. And we ended up taking out those drawers. We built in shelves. We put doors on the base or on the bottom. And now it's like a full-blown bar cart. And it started from like a secretary desk dresser situation. So you can get creative with this and repurpose it in different ways and kind of rebuild it if you want, or just keep it easy and put all your stuff, again, so much storage for all your teas and coffees and mugs. And I've even seen it where if you have a dresser that is missing a drawer or for whatever reason you can't put a drawer in, you can move them around so that the opening is at the top. So that's like a little shelf where you can then and have some open storage for little knickknacks. If you're going to be doing a bar, maybe you're showing off your cocktail shaker and some of your cute little gold bar decor and your Moscow Mule mugs, and then you put the kind of uglier stuff or all the glassware or something in the drawers underneath that you don't want to show off or you don't want to get dusty and all those things. So again, stage it to make it look like that if it's one that you think would work with that vibe. Add it into your description, or if you are renovating and redoing your space, keep that in mind if you are looking for somewhere to house all of your caffeine or alcohol, or maybe you got a bud bar, I don't know, all of your supplies. Consider finding a dresser that would be perfect for your space, and you can repurpose it in that way. 2 more options that are different uses for a dresser. First up, it's just using it as a dresser technically, if we want to get technical, but using it for additional storage in things like an office, a playroom, or a crafting room. Can't emphasize it more, but there's a lot of storage in a dresser, so if you have any places in your space that you have a lot of stuff that you want to house, you want to be able to organize it or, label it and have it be all in its proper spot and out of your eyesight so that it's not making you feel like you're drowning in things, put a dresser in there and use it for beautiful storage. You could put it in a kid's playroom to house all their toys. You could have it in an office and you could hide your printer. You could put all your stationery and your writing utensils. And if you want to have a clean space, keep a spot where you put your laptop at the end of your workday. If you're working from home, there's so many options and you can find so many shapes and sizes of dressers that can really help you out in this regard. And the last one is something that actually happened with one of my pieces as well, and I haven't gotten the picture yet of her having it finished, but I'm really eager to see what it ended up looking like. But using a dresser as a bathroom vanity. And I first saw this on the Sorry Girls. If you watch them on YouTube, I've been watching them for, well over 5 years now. And Kelsey, in her own home, found a kind of mid-century dresser that she repurposed into a vanity for her, I don't know if she had 1 or 2 sinks in it. And it worked out so well. And then I had a dresser that, it was kind of like a chest of drawers. It was like a 3 big drawer dresser, so it was a little bit lower than your average dresser, but I had it up for sale and somebody purchased it and she told me that she was going to be using it in her bathroom that they were renovating as a vanity, and I was like, that is so cool! And the piece was so cool and it will look so good. So my theory of what they're doing, I guess you could put a sink on top of it too, or you could cut out a hole in the top of the dresser, have the sink kind of go into it a little bit, and then have all the plumbing and stuff going out the back if you cut out a spot in the back of the dresser. And then you can use those other drawers for storage for your towels, for your extra toilet paper, for your makeup, your hair products, all that good stuff. It's about the same height as a vanity and honestly probably much cheaper than most vanities that you would specifically buy for a bathroom, because also if they have some sort of countertop on it, I'm assuming that's going to jack up the price a lot. So if you're doing a bathroom reno and you haven't thought of this as an option, you could also add a countertop on top of it too, I suppose. But so many dressers would look so cool as a bathroom vanity, and then you know that no one else is going to have the same one as you. Which is kind of a cool part of using upcycled and painted and refinished furniture as well, that chances are nobody has that exact same piece that you have done in that exact same way. Unlike if you get all your furniture at a certain 4-letter furniture retailer that will go unnamed, but you're bound to find a piece that somebody else has that you have the same exact piece of if you go there. Okay. I honestly can't even create coherent sentences anymore. My brain is shot, my sinuses are clogged. But I hope that got your gears turning, BusyBees, of different ways that you can use a dresser in your home, in your clients' homes, or that you can market them to sell them if you are trying to sell your painted and refinished furniture. And something you may not know about me, I love little motivational messages. They always get me fired up, and I keep a running list of ones that are especially catchy or speak to me in the Notes app on my phone. So I end every podcast episode with one that I've noted down over the years in hopes that you leave our time here each week feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to take on whatever comes your way this week. So this week's Mel's motivational message is: the pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. So whether you are facing the difficulty of trying to sell a dresser you have for sale, you're trying to find something that fits your space just right, but you can't find it because you haven't been thinking outside of the box and getting creative in your approach to your redesigned space, remember to be the optimist, be the one who sees opportunity in every difficulty, and just stop and take a second and reevaluate. In whatever situation you find yourself in this week and beyond, don't be the pessimist who's seeing difficulty in every opportunity. I know that I tend to do this. Unfortunately, I tend to do it a lot with my husband, which has been pointed out to me that when ideas are brought up or stories are told, I can have a tendency to immediately think of how it will go wrong or what I assume they haven't thought through yet or something that could be perceived as negative but is really just me trying to think things through and be thorough, but not everyone's going to see it like that. I'm sure there's some of you out there that are the same, but avoid being that pessimist that sees difficulty in every opportunity. Take every difficulty that you see and find the opportunity in it. It's going to help you to lead such a more positive, encouraging, and enjoyable life day to day. All right, that's it for now. I appreciate your time, and I will catch you guys next.